Picture this. It's the late 1980s. The rally world is all the hype. Audi is rewriting physics with its Quattro. Lancia's Delta Integral is an icon in the making. Toyota is throwing everything behind its Celica GT4. Subaru and Mitsubishi are just warming up their turbos for the decade ahead. And then, almost silently, Mazda steps into the ring. You walk into a Mazda dealership in 1988 expecting the usual suspects: family sedans, small trucks, and cheerful hatchbacks that scream practicality, not performance. But tucked away in the corner, wearing box-flared fenders and sitting low on rally-style alloys, is something that looks different. You walk closer. On the hatch, you see three simple letters: GTX. At first glance, it looks ordinary. The shape is upright and functional. The headlights are square. It's as unassuming as any other compact from the era. But open the hood and the whole story changes. Underneath sits a 1.6-liter turbocharged DOHC engine, mated to a 5-speed manual and a full-time all-wheel drive system. This isn't just another Econobox, it's a homologation special. Mazda built it not to win sales, but to earn eligibility for Group A World Rally Championship competition. Back then, if you wanted to race, you had to sell at least 5,000 road-legal versions of your rally car. So Mazda took its humble 323, stuffed it with rally-grade tech, and put it in showrooms. It wasn't a business decision, it was a passion project. Only about 1,200 cars ever made it to North America. Even in 1988, spotting one on the road was like seeing a unicorn. And if you did, you knew the driver was part of a very small club. That combination, lightweight, short gearing, and all-wheel drive, made the GTX a weapon on tight roads. Think of it as a miniature Lancia Delta HF 4-wheel drive. Mazda equipped it with proper hardware: a viscous center differential, locking rear diff, ventilated front discs, and independent suspension on all four corners. No cost-cutting, no compromises. It wasn't a gimmick. It was a driver's car built for control and feedback. The magic wasn't in sheer power. It was in how everything worked together. The turbo hit hard around 3,000 RPM, giving that classic 80s surge that pushed you into the seat. The close-ratio gearbox begged to be rode through. The all-wheel drive system clawed for grip like it had something to prove. And it was honest. There were no computers to save you, no traction control, no digital filters between you and the road. It rewarded finesse. If you got it right, balancing the throttle mid-corner, keeping the turbo spooled, the little Mazda would rotate gracefully, sliding just enough to make you grin. Inside, it was humble but focused. Cloth bucket seats, analog gauges, a chunky shifter, and that little boost gauge that loved flirting with the red. The steering was meaty, the pedals perfectly spaced, and every input felt like a conversation between you and the car. It wasn't refined, but that was the point. It was raw, mechanical, and alive. Mazda didn't build the 323 GTX for bragging rights, they built it for the stages. Its rally twin, the 323 Group A, competed in the World Rally Championship from 1986 to 1989. It faced giants Lancia, Toyota, Ford, and still managed podium finishes. Drivers praised its balance, toughness, and predictability. It wasn't the fastest, but it was dependable. A car you could push to the edge without fear. Its chassis was agile and neutral, its turbo engine robust, and its all-wheel drive system relentless. On gravel, it felt like it was born there. Rally fans saw it as a dark horse, a car that never got the fame it deserved simply because Mazda didn't have the marketing muscle or deep pockets of its rivals. Group A soon became an arms race. Factory budgets exploded, star drivers dominated headlines, and Mazda's small team couldn't keep up. But in spirit, the GTX carried that underdog energy onto public roads. When you drove one, you could feel its rally DNA. It wasn't designed for comfort or luxury, it was designed for connection. Every mechanical sound and vibration reminded you that this car was engineered to compete, not just commute. It didn't just drive, it communicated. Then there's the part enthusiasts love most: tuning. Even in stock form, the GTX was quick, but the B6T engine had enormous untapped potential. It was sturdy, over-engineered, and shared its lineage with the later B-Series engines that powered the Miata. From the factory, the turbo pushed a conservative 7 psi, but the internals could handle much more. Add a front-mount intercooler, larger injectors, a free-flowing exhaust, and a mild tune, and you could easily hit 200 horsepower safely in a 2,600-pound all-wheel drive hatch. That's a backroad missile. For the brave, the swap game is strong. The later BP series engines from the Mazda Familia GTR and GTX overseas drop right in, bringing 210 horsepower stock and headroom for far more. With forged internals, standalone ECUs, and modern turbos, some builders push these to 300 horsepower and beyond. And the chassis, it's ready for it. Coilovers, upgraded sway bars, polyurethane bushings and stickier tires make it razor sharp. Drive it hard into a corner, stay on boost, and the all-wheel drive system pulls you through with rally car tenacity. Off-road enthusiasts love it too. Skid plates, gravel tires, and roll cages transform the GTX into a legitimate vintage rally contender. People still run them in stage rallies and rallycross events today, proof of how capable they were out of the box. And unlike modern cars full of drive modes and artificial aids, the GTX keeps things beautifully analog. Every modification you make changes the feel directly. No software calibration, no computer mediation, just metal, boost, and driver skill. That's why the 323 GTX remains a favorite among purists. It's endlessly tunable yet completely mechanical. Of course, every hero has its flaws. The transmission was the first weak link. While fine for street use, hard launches or big power builds could shred second gear synchros. Replacement parts are rare. So many owners hoard spares or rebuild using components from other Mazda gearboxes. Then there's rust, the silent killer. Mazda's late 80s corrosion protection left much to be desired. Combine that with rally-style driving and decades of neglect, and clean shells are nearly extinct. Floor pans, rocker panels, and rear arches are the first to go. Heat management was another issue. The compact engine bay and hot turbo setup often cooked nearby wiring and hoses. Owners running higher boost had to upgrade cooling or risk toasted components. And the biggest issue of all? Rarity. Only 1,243 GTXs were officially imported to the US in 1988 and 1989 combined. Many were raced, wrecked, or parted out. Today, maybe a few hundred survive, and even fewer remain unmodified. But for those who own one, that exclusivity is part of the magic. It's not a car for attention, it's a car for understanding. When another GTX owner waves at you, you both know what's up. It's a shared secret, a badge of honor among enthusiasts. So what's it actually like to drive? In a word, pure. Twist the key and the 1.6-liter turbo wakes up with a raspy, uneven idle. Mechanical, alive, and eager. The clutch engages with a satisfying weight. Slot the shifter into first. It's short, deliberate, and mechanical, like working a bolt-action rifle. The steering is hydraulic and full of feel. Every bump, camber change, and patch of gravel speaks through the wheel. It's not nervous, it's honest. As you roll onto the throttle, the turbo starts to whistle faintly. There's a moment of lag, then a surge as the boost hits. It's not violent, but it's addictive. That anticipation before the shove is what makes 80s turbo cars so special. On twisty roads, the all-wheel drive system transforms the experience. The nose dives in eagerly, and as you power out, you can feel the torque shuffle around, helping the car claw forward. It's a rhythm. Brake, turn, wait for boost, accelerate. When you get it right, the whole car feels alive, perfectly balanced between traction and slide. It's not about speed, it's about sensation. Every input matters. The sound of the turbo, the hiss of the blow-off valve, the weight transfer under braking, it's all communication. Modern cars isolate you, the GTX invites you in. It demands skill, patience, and respect. And in return, it delivers one of the most rewarding analog driving experiences left from the rally era. So, was the Mazda 323 GTX a real rally legend? Maybe not on paper, but absolutely in spirit. It represents everything car enthusiasts love: simplicity, character, and connection. It's proof that you don't need huge horsepower or fancy materials to create something special. What you need is intent, and Mazda had plenty of that. The GTX didn't chase fame or glory. It existed because a group of engineers believed in it, and decades later, that passion still resonates. When you see one on the road today, battered or pristine, you're not just looking at metal, you're looking at defiance. A car that dared to compete with giants and carved its own quiet legacy. Maybe it's underrated, maybe it's forgotten, but for those who know, the 323 GTX isn't just another old hatchback. It's a statement, a reminder that the best cars aren't always the loudest or the fastest. Sometimes they're the ones that simply feel right. So the next time someone mentions rally legends and forgets Mazda's name, just smile, because you know the truth. The 323 GTX was one of the last true analog rally heroes, and its story is far from over.